author of many articles, books in Islamic political science and political science in general. He also books on Islamic methodology in political science. He is well known in his area. He started his career as a young scholar when he finished his BA and Masters in political science in Bangladesh, and he moved to the States to do another Master's. Then he moved to Canada, Alberta, to do his PhD in political science. He started teaching at University Bangladesh, and also he joined University of Alberta as a lecturer of political science in 1976, followed by University of Bayero University in Nigeria, where he taught there from 1978 to 1992, and finally joined International Islamic University, Malaysia, where he has been a great scholar, a mentor of many of us, a writer, author, and he is also advisor to any issue related to politics and policy in Malaysia and all over the world. Professor Rasheed Moten has authored many books, articles in reputable journals and in reputable publishing houses around the world. We are pleased to have him today. He has contributed to Islamic thought, Islamic science in different levels, and our University Federal University of Kashere is happy to have him today. We believe that this lecture today will give us a kind of, it will pave the way for us to know that religious studies has to do with politics, and we believe that he will do justice to the topic we ask him or request from him to deliver today. The floor is now open. We also recognize our Deputy Vice Chancellor of the University, Professor Muhammad Mustafa Namadi. Professor Muhammad Mustafa Namadi, the Dean of our faculty, is around with us. Other distinguished fellows are there, but I will leave the floor for our moderator to introduce them, probably after the lecture of our distinguished professor. Thank you very much.
So thank you, Professor Lukman Zakaria, the head of Department of Religious Studies, for this introduction of our guest lecturer of today. Listeners and distinguished participants and scholars, as it has been rightly said by the HOD, I want to welcome the presence of Professor Mustafa Namadi, who is the sitting dean of the Faculty of Humanities of the Federal University Kashere. I also want to recognize the presence of many other distinguished professors and scholars here with us. Without waste of time, let me quickly hand over everything to our guest speaker, in person, Professor Rasheed Moten. Prof, over to you for your presentation.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen ar-Rahman ar-Rahim maliki yawmiddin iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in ihdina as-siratal mustaqim siratal ladzina an'amta 'alayhim ghayril maghdubi 'alayhim waladdallin. Ameen. It's an honor and a great pleasure to be with you online. I wish it was face to face. I wish I could be in Nigeria so that I can talk to you. I can ask you directly, Lafia Lao. Nigeria is my home, second home, and I always admire to be there. And I have been asked to talk about relevantization and political science. I am not an expert in these areas. Dr. Luqman Zakaria, he knows better than me. And if you want to know something, he's the right person to talk to, and he will tell you all the things that I know. Except that he asked me to talk to you simply to tell you that he controls me. And if he says something, I have to do it. So that's where I am. All right, inshallah, we'll be talking about relevantization. Before we talk about relevantization, I would like to tell you a little bit about Islamization, because Islamization of knowledge and relevantization of Islam are related to each other. In terms of timeline, the concept Islamization of knowledge came first. There is a controversy in the world, in the academic life. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can see it, Prof.
Okay, good. Islamization of knowledge came, but it became popular in 1982 when Marhum Sheikh Ismail al-Faruqi, he introduced the topic, and he wrote the book, a small booklet called Islamization of Knowledge, the work plan. And from then on, Islamization of knowledge became very popular. And to tell you something secret many people do not know is that I was in Nigeria when 1982 this concept was introduced, and I was not very enthusiastic about it. But Marhum Ismail Faruqi, he went to Bairo University, Kano, in 1988, and he met me. I was a young man at that time. Now I am younger. Okay, so please do not confuse me. I was younger, now I am young. So he saw me and he said, "Young man, I'm looking for you." I said, "What? How can you look for me? You don't know me." He said, "No, you are teaching methodology, and methodology is what Islamization of knowledge is all about. So please join us." And then next day he gave a talk on methodology from Islamic perspective, and I was among the audience. And all along he was looking at me, and he was asking me, as if he was asking me to join him. If you look at the screen, it defines Islamization of knowledge as to recast knowledge as Islam relates to it. So that is the shortest and simplest definition of Islamization of knowledge: to recast knowledge as Islam relates to it. So if somebody asks you, what is Islamization of knowledge? Islamization of knowledge is to recast knowledge as Islam relates to it. So any knowledge you take over, and especially the knowledge that comes from the West, to take it over and then try to look at it, whether Islam accepts, whether Islamically speaking, whether this particular concept or this particular idea is acceptable from an Islamic point of view. Okay, if it is acceptable, we will take it as it is. If it is not acceptable completely, if it falls under the haram category, then we will reject it. And if part of it is good and part of it is bad, then we will take that part which is acceptable and try to mend it, okay? Bring about some islah in it, and then we will work on it. So Islamization of knowledge is not a demolition exercise. Islamization of knowledge is an exercise in acceptance, rejection, and adaptation. We will accept whatever is Islamically acceptable, we will reject whatever is totally unacceptable, and we will adapt to things which can be accommodated somehow, and we will do some adaptations. So this is a methodology. So we have to redefine it. We have to redefine the concept that we have seen, and then we will have to reorder the data, the information that we have, and see if it is there. The reasoning behind it, we have to look at the reasoning behind it. And then we relate and re-evaluate the conclusions to project the goals and to so in. So for example, I'll give you just one example. Secularism. Is secularism acceptable to Islam? But first and foremost, I have to know what is secularism. Secularism is not un-Islamic. Secularism is not against religion. Secularism is not antithetical to any religion, including Islam. Okay, so as a concept, secularism is okay. However, the meaning of secularism, we have to rethink the reasoning. Secularism says that we have nothing to do with religion. It is our religion, not unreligion. It is our religion means your religion is your private affair. I have nothing to do with you. If you want to pray, go ahead and pray. If you want to recite Quran, go ahead and recite the Quran. If you want to spend all your money on zakah and khairat, go ahead and do it. But don't ask the state to do it for you. So you want to build mosque, go ahead and build mosque, but with your own money, not with our money. And you want to pray, go ahead and pray 55 times a day, but do not ask others to come. And in any case, state has nothing to do with it. The moment you ask the state to come in, then it is no longer secular. So secularism is not against religion. Secularism will have nothing to do with religion. Secularism tries to draw a boundary line between church and the state. They make a distinction between church and the state, and they say church is church, state is state. Render the beautiful sentence is render unto Caesar what's to Caesar, and unto God what's to God. Okay, so whatever belongs to God, you give it to him. We have nothing to do with that one. Whatever belongs to Caesar, and Caesar here means whatever belongs to the state, whatever belongs to the government, you give it to the government. Do not mix the two together. Now the question is, how do we Islamize it? How do we Islamize this? Okay, we can accept secularism. However, we have to redefine secularism. Secularism, we cannot accept the definition, yes. Secularism, we have to redefine it. And we will say secularism does not mean a religion. We will say secularism is very favorable to all religions. Okay? This means that a person who is a Muslim, he will refer to Islam, and Islam saying that everybody should be treated equally with respect. Islam will treat everything with respect. Okay? So we will not say this is against us and this is for us, but if you accept that part of that definition, then we will say, okay, we will talk about secularism. Otherwise, we will reject it. Okay? So Islamization of knowledge, therefore, is simply to recast knowledge as Islam relates to it. We do not want anything. We do not want anything which comes between our faith and other things. We do not want anyone to come between us and God. Okay, for Muslims, there is direct relationship between Allah and human beings. We are all directly related, unlike others where they go through certain media. In the case of Islam, the relationship between Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and us is direct, one-to-one relationship. We call Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala into everything. We bring Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala into everything we talk. Therefore, I always tell them, I said, look, when two Muslims, they talk to one another, actually Muslims, we do not talk to one another. Muslims talk to each other through the third media. So we bring in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala whenever we talk about certain things. So when I meet one brother, I say, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Am I talking to him? No, I'm telling him that may Allah have feast upon you. So it is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So in between two individuals, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is in the middle. So it is a triadic relationship. The relationship is three-dimensional, not one. Me and the person I'm talking to and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in between. And therefore, everything we do, we say, inshallah, inshallah, inshallah. Why we bring it? Because we want Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be part and parcel of everything we talk about. And this is what we would like to do in Islamization of knowledge. When we talk about knowledge, we want that knowledge to be related to Islam. And when we are related to Islam, we are not saying anything. We say, okay, Islam has everything to do with its life, everything to do with the mosque, everything to do with people's cleanliness, and everything that you see. And therefore, we would like to bring in Islam into everything we do. There is another scholar in Malaysia, Sayyid Naqib al-Attas. And Sayyid Naqib al-Attas says that Islamization is the liberation of man from magical, mythological, animistic, national, cultural tradition opposed to Islam, and from secular control over his reason and his language. In other words, a Muslim will not go for magic, will not go for mythology, will not go for national cultural tradition, which is against Islam. So you have to look at all these elements one by one and see if they are opposed to Islam or they are not opposed to Islam. If they are not opposed to Islam, if they are in favor of Islam, then we will accept it. And then secularism also comes in. Secularism says, okay, you can be a very good Muslim, but you do not bring in, we do not accept that one. We will be very good Muslim, inshallah, Aziz, and we will also try to make the government, try to make the state Islamic. How we do it, we don't know, but we will do it. So to Islamize is to liberate individuals from both magical and the secular worldviews. And this is called Islamization. So if you do that one, alhamdulillah, you are Islamic. So some people, they argue, okay, so how do we start? Where do we start? Which knowledge are we talking about? We are talking about Western knowledge, the knowledge which West claims. Yes. Can you hear me?
Go ahead, Prof. We can hear you.
Yeah, if you have any question, please ask. Islamization is there. So we want to be good Muslims, and a good Muslim is the one who is not partial to anything, accepts everything that comes in the mind. Now, the question is, what concepts are we talking about? Basically, we are talking about the Western concepts and Western knowledge. We have to Islamize Western knowledge and see if Western knowledge. There is somebody, would you please mute so that it echoes here on my part?
Okay, yes.
Okay, thank you very much. So we are talking about the Western concepts. So we have to take the Western concepts one by one, and we have to analyze if those Western concepts are in conformity with Islamic forms and Islamic traditions. If they are, we will accept it. Now the question, a friend of mine and many people ask whenever I talk about Islamization of knowledge, they say, okay, you are talking about Western world. So is democracy Islamic? I said, yes, we can talk about democracy and we'll have to look into it, whether democracy is Islamic or not. If democracy is Islamic, we will accept it. If it is not, we will not accept. So there were a few. He said, Prof, you are talking too much. I said, yeah, that's my bad habit. That's why I'm a professor. I'm a professor, I profess, and therefore I have to. So they said, could you tell us straight away whether democracy is Islamic or not? I said, whether you like it or not, democracy is not Islamic and Islam is not democratic. And they were all shocked. They said, how can you say like this? Democracy is all over the world. And I said, democracy is not Islamic. And Islam is not democratic. The reason is very simple. In democracy, who is supreme? People. In democracy, people supreme. So whatever decision they want to take, they go to the parliament and then they take vote. If majority says okay, then it is okay. If majority says no, it's not okay, then they say it's not okay. But in Islam, we cannot accept that. We will have parliament, yes. We will go to the parliament, we will have discussion, we will negotiate, we will explain what we want, and then there will be people who will be looking at it whether it's Islamic or not. But if there is a concept which is not totally Islamic, then we will not discuss it in the parliament. For example, alcohol. Can we discuss alcohol? Can we negotiate and can we talk about alcohol in the parliament? And can parliament approve drinking alcohol? Haram. We cannot talk about alcohol. It is a no-go area. We will not go into that. Okay, and we will not talk about it. No. If the whole population wants it, Islam says no, so it is no. So in that sense, it is not. And in democracy, the authority, in democracy, it is the people who are supreme. The authority is with the people. But in Islam, supreme authority is with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Tawheed does not mean only unity of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. No, it's much more than that.
The supreme authority is the people.
Tawheed is unity and sovereignty of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sovereignty means He has power over everything. Inna Allah ala kulli shay'in qadir. Tawheed says that one. So in the parliament, when we sit there, who is supreme? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala supreme. So whatever we want to arrive at, whatever decision we would like to make, we will analyze whether Quran and Sunnah says so. If it says okay, we say okay. If it says not okay, we say not okay. We say it's not okay. There are certain areas. There are certain areas which are gay. We can use our own ijtihad. Innal halala bayyin wa innal harama bayyin wa baynahuma umurun mutashabihat. And what do you do when you have umur mutashabihat? Stay away from it. If you have to deal with it, deal with it. But it is not people's opinion who will decide. It is the decision of the Quran and Sunnah, and we have to decide. This is called Islamization. The question then is, okay, democracy is not Islamic. Okay, Prof, democracy is not Islamic, we accept. Secularism is not Islamic, we accept. How about the Quranic ayah? Quranic ayah says something. Do you want to Islamize Quran? How can you Islamize Quran? How can you convert a Muslim into Muslim? That is the question. Can we convert a Muslim to become a Muslim? No. So what do you do? That is the question. That is where comes relevantization. Okay? No, we do not Islamize Quran and Sunnah. We do not Islamize things which are already Islamic. But we want to relevantize it. What does it mean? Well, we want to apply Quran and Sunnah to our everyday life. Okay? We want to make Islam relevant. We want to make Islam relevant by connecting it, by relating it, or linking it to something else. Okay? So that is called relevantization, to make Islam relevant to this contemporary world. There are many things which were there during the time of the Prophet ﷺ and the Khulafa Rashidun, which no longer exist. Okay? So what do we do? Should we have it or should we not have it? That is where relevancy comes in. I remember when I was in the madrasa, and we used to give azan orally straight away, and then a big man came in and he brought microphone, and he said, give azan on the microphone. My ustaz said, no, haram. And then there was a big discussion, and then one mufti came in, and then he looked at it and he said, no, this is acceptable, but still we made it relevant. Okay, microphone can be used in order for many people to understand. This is how we came to know about it. And this concept of relevantization was formulated in 1994 in Islamic University, Malaysia here. And this was introduced by Professor Kamal Hassan. Okay, Professor Kamal Hassan, he introduced it, and he made it very, very clear that this will be the philosophy of the Department of Islamic Revealed Knowledge and Heritage. And it says very clearly, the purpose is to produce a new generation of scholars with an understanding not only of Islam and its sciences, but also of contemporary social realities, in order to find Islamic solution for contemporary problems of the Ummah and of the humanity. In other words, there are problems, we have to find solutions from Islamic point of view. Is that acceptable or not? And if not, how can we apply Islam to these particular areas? And this is what is called relevantization. And very simply, this is what I found it. Relevantization means to make Islam relevant by connecting, relating, or linking it to something else. In Arabic, there are few terminologies used for relevantization. Taghyir, Islah, Tajdeed, Ihya, Ijtihad. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These are the 5 terms which are usually associated with. So altogether, when we are doing Taghyir, Islah, Tajdeed, Ihya, Ijtihad, then we are trying to relevantize it. This is called relevantization. Tajdeed means to renew something to make it new. Okay, bring it to the original conditions. Okay, it means revival, and revival means ihya, to revive that which has disappeared or died due to neglect of the Quran and Sunnah. So we have to bring it back. So when we bring those things back, we say, aha, this is tajdeed. This is what is called relevantization. According to Ustaz Al-Qaradawi, Yusuf Qaradawi, Tajdeed means to combine the beneficial old with the appropriate new. Al-Qadim al-Nafi' wal-Jadid al-Salih. Okay? And to be open to the outside world. But to be open to the outside world, you do not become part of them. Don't get melted into it. Okay? So you be open to the outside world, look at it clearly, and make Islam, try to see if it fits Islam fits in there or not. Things would be good. It will not be haram or halal. But then it is difficult. You have not seen it before. So should you do it or not? Taghyir is another term which is also there. And to regenerate or to renew. Okay. And then Islah, we say to reconcile, to strive towards peace or pious actions. Islah and Tajdeed are more or less related terms. All these terminologies that I'm talking about, these 5 terms are all related. And Ijtihad is to exert one's opinion as much as possible for regeneration and renewal. Okay, and this is also part and parcel. So all these Arabic terms are available. In English, we use the term relevantization. Okay, all these 5 Arabic terms are used and are combined in the word relevantization. So relevantization here means you take part of Taghyir, Islah, Tajdeed, Ihya, Ijtihad, bring them all together and come something new, and whatever method you use. You can also consider Taghyir, Islah, Tajdeed, Ihya, and Ijtihad as the methodology of relevantization. Whatever you use, you bring about something new or revive something old, then we are talking about it. And Imam al-Ghazali, rahimahullah, Ihya Ulumuddin is a very good example of relevantization as well as Islamization. Okay, so we are talking about that, and we can look at it. So when we talk about relevantization, we are talking about scholars who are well versed in Quran and Sunnah and in our Turath, Turath. We are looking at them. Okay, we are looking at them. What are they doing? These are the people who are supposed to do relevantization. I cannot do. I have no knowledge about it. I don't know anything about Quran and Sunnah, and I know nothing about Turath or anything. But I still propagate this idea. We should do it. Okay. So what we are looking at is that people in Ulumuddin, people in Usuluddin, people in Fiqh, Quran and Sunnah, these are the people, these are the scholars, the intellectuals who will bring about relevantization. They will re-examine, they will assess everything, they will evaluate everything, they will look even into the classical and Islamic thought in order to make it contemporary, in order to make it relevant to this world, in order to make it relevant. Otherwise, we will not be able to do it. Similarly, those who are teaching, those who are doing research, those who are publishing things, okay, they must also make sure that Islam is relevant. And this is the most important job, most important function of a Muslim scholar. Wherever he is, whatever he does, he has to do relevantization. Otherwise, it will not be possible. Okay. Now we are talking about political science. What is political science? Okay. Political science has hundreds of definitions, and scholars, but they all talk about government. Political science deals with secured life under a government, so that there is safety, society, law and order in the society, and things can move accordingly. Okay? And that is what political science is about. So they say it's an art of government. What is government? Government is a machinery where you have a leader. Okay, the government is a machinery where parliaments, they sit down together and they evaluate and they discuss, and then they implement those laws and rules, etc., etc. So according to Samuel Huntington, politics is the struggle for power. People are fighting to become the prime minister or to become this and that. So they struggle for power in order to do what? In order to implement their own positions, in order to implement their own decisions. Okay, and then according to David Easton, political science is the authoritative allocation of values for the whole society. In other words, there is a body which allocates values. And values, in the Western terminology, values only means money. Money, and yet more money. So the government does allocate values to the people who live in the society. This is called. Now, these are all Western terms. Can we accept it? Is it Islamically acceptable? There is nothing wrong. Islam has nothing against government. Yes, we can accept the art of government as acceptable from Islamic point of view. So if you define political science as the art of government, yes, we will accept it. It's perfectly okay. But we know what government means. Our idea of government is different, okay? Then there are. So Huntington's definition, we are Islamizing it. Huntington's definition is the struggle for power. Yes, we can accept that one. Islamizing it. How? Struggle for power, yes, we are also fighting for power. All Muslims must fight for power. Power is absolutely essential. Okay, but power for who? Not for myself. I'm not struggling for power in order to make people bow before me. No, we struggle for power. We acquire power and then we submit that power to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So power is acquired in order to implement the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you define it that way, then it becomes okay. So a struggle for power is okay, but power here means struggling in order to acquire power to implement the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the light of Quran and Sunnah. Yes, then we are Islamizing it. So we are taking that definition. Okay, you have given this definition, we will accept it, Mr. Huntington. Okay, you are hunting a lot, but we are not. Okay, we are struggling for power in order to implement the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you don't have the power, who is going to implement the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And then authoritative allocation of values also for the same society. Okay, yes, there has to be an authority. Society has to have an authority. People cannot just go on doing whatever they want. If you want to live, Islam says so. Okay, when three people go according to the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when three people go together, one of them has to become the imam, has to be their leader, so that people obey the leaders. Okay, so authoritative allocation of values. So authority is necessary to allocate values. Now the question is, what is value? Value, my dear, is not simply money. Okay, from Islamic point of view, everything which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has ordained us to acquire, it's a value. Okay, prayer is a value for us. Paying zakah. How come zakah cannot go into authoritative allocation of values for the society in the Western world? How can zakat means to give away money? The Westerners, they don't want to give away, they want to take all of it. But for Muslims, values includes money, acquiring money, and also disposing money. Praying, building mosques, all these are values. Okay. Now, in the Western world, this cannot be done. So if we want to accept these things, we have to define it, redefine it. We have to look into the values that are into it, and then we accept it. Okay. So all those definitions can be accepted. Okay. So this is all Islamization of political science. Now, how do we relevantize it? Okay. How can we relevantize? Okay, there is, before we relevantize, there is another word called al-jam'u bayn al-qira'atayn. Okay, this was given by Sheikh Taha Jabir al-Hulwani. He says al-jam'u bayn al-qira'atayn means you have to combine the reading of the two books of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Quran and the natural world. Okay, the Quran and the cosmos. Now, here, this al-jam'u bayn al-qira'atayn, combining the reading of the two books of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Quran and the cosmos, or Quran and the nature, al-Quran wal kawn, that is Islamization as well as relevantization. This term, al-jam'u bayn al-qira'atayn, they apply to both Islamization and relevantization. Now, I have talked to you about the definition of political science, and I have shown you how we Islamize it. Now the question is, how can we make it relevant? Okay? How can we make it relevant? We make it relevant by showing to the people that it is something good. Islam is not for this world only. Islam is for the hereafter. So, and Islam is not only for the hereafter, but Islam is also for this world. That is why we have been asked to pray. رَبَّنَا آتِنَا فِي الدُّنْيَا حَسَنَةً وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ حَسَنَةً. If you do not make dunya hasana, your akhirah will not be hasana either. Okay, so Islam has to be applied to this world. Islam has to be applied to politics. I remember very clearly when I was in Kano, I used to be the imam. Every time I go to the mosque, they will push me to become the imam. And I will be most of the time leading the prayer. And the people who lived around, they came to recognize me and they came to know me. One day I was coming from the market, I saw three brothers standing under the scorching sun, and I realized that they are staying somewhere closer to my house. So I stopped my car and I said, brothers, please come in. So they entered, they were very happy. Okay, and then I walked over, going there, and then one of them said, Ustaz, we know you. I said, oh, how do you know me? He said, you are teaching in Bairo University. I said, yes, but do you know what I'm teaching? Yes, we know. What? You are teaching Quran and Sunnah. I said, no, I don't teach Quran and Sunnah. Then another one said, oh, we know. What? You are teaching Arabic. I said, La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. I don't know. I'm not teaching Arabic. And then they were quiet. And then they said, okay, Ustaz, what are you teaching? I said, I teach politics. Then, one of them says, Na'udhu billahi min dhalik. And they were, they said, Na'udhu billah, how can you teach politics? How can an imam teach politics? Islam and politics, they cannot meet, they cannot match one another. Okay, Islam is all divine, politics is all Jannah. So I kept quiet. When they came, so I stopped. So one of them, when leaving, he just opened the door and he said, Ya Sheikh, do not make this kind of dirty joke. An imam cannot be teaching politics. Politics is a dirty game. Politics is a dirty game, and we Muslims are not to do anything with politics. In other words, Muslims have this conception that whatever we do in Islam is meant only for Akhirah, not for here, not for this world. Okay, so Islam has nothing to do. Therefore, in most part of the world, we will see children are taught Quran, and adults are also taught Quran without explaining to them what does Quran mean. Quran is not supposed to be read, and this is how I read it. I did not understand a single word of the Quran, and I memorized the whole of it without understanding anything. But Quran is supposed to be doing much more than that. Of course, you get reward for memorizing the Quran even without understanding it. But Quran is meant to be read, to be understood, to be applied. If you do not understand, you cannot apply. And therefore, similarly, prayer. You know what? I will tell you one more thing. The Westerners, nobody has told you this, the Westerners, Americans and the British and others, they want us Muslims to be very, very pious. Do you know that? They want Muslims to be very pious. They want Muslims to spend all their time in the masjid. And they want you to pray 100 rakat nafilah in tahajjud. And stay in the masjid all the time, so that you remain in the mosque. They can govern very easily, peacefully, no problem there. And this is what they would like you to do. And that's why there is no control over religious things. But they are very much upset when Muslims come out on the street and when Muslims demand resignation of so-and-so, when Muslims demand the things. So they will be very happy if the Palestinians, if they did not ask for a state, if they do not ask for the government of their own, and if they stay and pray all the time, they will be very happy. Israel will be the happiest one. Okay? But Islam is not supposed to be purely spiritual. Islam has political significance. If you do not understand this part, then you are not doing. So we would like to relevantize Islam. Say, for example, take the case of 5 times prayer. Take the 5 times prayer. I remember somebody was also saying, Quran says that we should spend all our time in the prayer. I said, where does the Quran say that we have to spend all our time? So, Ya ayyuhal muzammil, qumil layla illa qalila, nisfahu wa minqus minhu qalila, aw zid alayhi wa rattilil Qur'ana tartila. He said, Quran says so. Hey, this was meant for the Prophet. No, it was meant for all of us. So we should not be engaged in the worldly affairs. Leave it to others. We are all spiritual, and we spend day and night reading the Quran and reading and doing the Taraweeh and doing Tahajjud and other things. But Islam is not meant for pure spiritual upliftment. Islam wants you to live in this world. And as I said before, that's why the Quran teaches you to pray. Pray for what? Rabbana, this is the best prayer you can have. Rabbana atina fid dunya hasana wa fil akhirati hasana wa qina adhaban nar. This is the best prayer you have. Okay? This is the best prayer you have. And if you look at the life of the Prophet ﷺ and all the Sahaba Akram radiallahu anhum, you will see that they have amalgamated the two together. Yeah. Prophet ﷺ was a spiritual leader. He was also a political leader. He combined the two together. There was no conflict. There was no contradiction. So if you look at if you look at the Salat bil Jama'ah, the prayer, 5 times prayer, what is the purpose of the prayer? Why are we praying? Are we learning anything? Are we doing something? Can you relevantize prayer? How do you make prayer relevant to this world? That is the question that I have always been asking. Why are we praying? The Jama'ah, as I looked at it, Jama'ah fulfills certain principles, political principles. Jama'ah, Salat bil Jama'ah has certain political principles, and these principles are taught. Okay. First principle of living in the society. Okay. So when Muazzin calls, Hayya ala salah, Hayya ala falah, okay, come to prayer and come for your success. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not need our prayers. He has all his creations praying for him day and night, so he does not need it. If we pray, it is for our own good. And if we do good to ourselves, according to the Quran and Sunnah, it will be good for the hereafter. Okay, so the first thing the Salah bil Jama'ah teaches you is a social living. All Muslims should join together, live together. So when azan is there, all of us rush there. We all make wudu and we clean ourselves and we go to the mosque. Laugh at each other. How are you, brother? How are you here? How are you there? And we are all very happy inside the mosque. Outside we start fighting again, but inside the mosque we do not fight. We are okay. So we are joining, we laugh at each other, salam. Nowadays, because of COVID-19, you cannot shake hands. So still now you put your hand on your heart and you say, aha, deep down my heart, you are with me. Okay. Now this is called social living. We are living together in this society. This is the first lesson that Salah bil Jama'ah teaches you. Once it is done, then the Muazzin give the Aqama. And what is the Aqama done? Everybody gets up for prayer. When everybody is standing up prayer, the Imam says, and my son is also an Imam, the first thing is Sahu, okay, Safu, Sufu, Hakum, okay, straighten your stand together, shoulder to shoulder, leg to leg, make it quiet, straight, okay. Why? Because you are all equal. There should be no distinction whatsoever. So you are rich, you are poor, you are rector, you are deputy rector, you are prime minister, you are this minister, that minister, does not matter. All stand together, shoulder to shoulder, because we are all equal. This is the second principle of politics, that in the society, all people are equal. And this is the lesson which we learn from the Salat bil Jama'ah. Once it is done, okay, now it is the time for the Imam. Who will lead? Nobody can just go and say, oh, I'm going to lead. No. Oh, I'm a professor, I want to lead. No. Are you the right person to lead? And the people, those who are there, they know who are the right person. And therefore, they will push whoever is the person. Please be our leader. Nobody can go and say, I'm a professor, so I'll be the Imam. No. Imam has to be elected by the Muqtadi. This is the third principle. That Imam, the leader, has to be elected by the people. And the people, and it's very, very clear that people, when they are choosing, they must make sure that he is the right person. He is the right person. He knows the Quran and Sunnah. He knows the meanings and everything together, and that he can recite the Quran properly. Okay? then he becomes the imam. So the imam.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Yes, Prof. I don't know. Due to time factor, maybe we try to round off.
Oh, okay. This is the problem.
I'm sorry, we are getting out.
I cannot really. Inshallah. Okay. So once.
No, you can. You go ahead and relevantize, but you just want to.
No problem. Okay, so you relevantize and then you elect an imam. And once the imam is elected, imam is reading, then what do? Imam makes a mistake, you correct it. Okay, you have to be highly critical, you have to be reasonable. And if imam cannot do, and if you made mistake in choosing the right imam, then you bring him down. This is called critical analysis, critical way of looking at it. And then we call it impeachment. Yeah? In political science, it's called impeachment. In other words, prayer is not purely for spiritual upliftment. We have to explain people that, look, this is Islam. We want to relevantize. We want to apply Islam to this situation. And we want to make Islam relevant to this world. And this is how we come to talk about it. Okay? So whether we like it or we don't, we have to be here, and we have to relevantize it, Islamize it, relevantize it, and do as much as possible. Wabillahi tawfiq wal hidayah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Prof, we are very much grateful for this wonderful presentation, as we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to continue to bless you and guide you and make your knowledge more beneficial to everybody. As you speak, the Dean of the faculty is there, who is supposed to be the chairman of this very event. I think before anything, we give him chance to maybe make some comments before we open the door for other.
Yes, inshallah, I have no objection. Yes, please go ahead.
Thank you very much, Professor Rasheed Moten. I'm one of your colleagues at Bayer University, Kano, and I know you very well. And I work with you at the Bayer University, Kano. I just transferred my services from Bayer University, Kano to Federal University, Kashari. We have listened to Professor Rasheed Moten talk on Islamization of knowledge, and he has defined or given us a definition of what is Islamization of knowledge, and he indicated that it is an exercise of either rejection or acceptance. What is we accept what is acceptable in Islam, and we reject what is rejectable in Islam. And talk about organization, makes something relevant, connecting, relating, or linking, or to something else, which is very important. And he talked about the objectives of Relevantization in 1994 as developed by the Department of IIIT. And he talks about the production of new generation of scholars. And then he talks about the terminologies, the Taqir, the Islah, the Tajdid, here and Ijtihad, and talks about the legacy to be made to Islamize knowledge, particularly in areas of politics. And we have listened to him. I would like to open the floor for questions, comments, and discussions, please. But please,
thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman and the Dean of the Faculty of Humanities. Before we give floor for those who have been raising their hands, I can see one question by one of the participants. I don't know whether Prof will respond to the question first before we move to other participants who are raising their hands.
Yeah, before I answer any question, I think Prof Mustafa is there. Mustafa can answer all the questions on my behalf. Okay, and Luqman is also there.
Yes, Prof. Alhamdulillah, we are happy we are together with all these eminent professors and scholars, but we want to share the blessing of your time. And,
Inshallah, no problem.
So, inshallah, we would like to listen to you first, and I believe they can also complement in whatever way.
No problem.
Also, thank you very much. Yes, Latif Tijani is asking, my question, sir, is which one is the most appreciated? Islamization, relevantization, or integration of knowledge? And he argues that all these revolve around the choice of words to explain the concepts. So he wants you to kindly shed more light in this perspective.
Thank you very much. It's a very interesting question, very difficult to answer, and it's heartbreaking. Okay. The first term which became very popular and which attracted my attention is Islamization of knowledge. As I said before, there was no term called relevantization. It was Islamization which came in, and it was very popular. And because of, maybe you don't know, Tijani, because of this, because of the term Islamization of knowledge, and because he was pursuing it very vigorously in America, he was killed. I'm talking about Sheikh Ismail Raji al-Faruqi. You know, he was talking about Islamization of knowledge. He established an institute and he established a journal, and he was going all around promoting Islamization of knowledge. And because of that, he was assassinated and he became Shaheed. Okay, and then in the long run, the IIIT was closed down because they were using the word Islamization of knowledge, and therefore now they are coming up with different terminologies so that we can continue with what we are doing, because people thought that Islamization means conversion to Islam, which is a wrong interpretation that they did. In UIA, in my university here, in International Islamic University, my university is Bairo University. Okay, remember that.
Alhamdulillah, you still remember that.
My university is Bairo University. I will never forget that one. That is my university, and I love that place. I love that place. Not a single Bairo University person comes to Malaysia without seeing me and cannot leave. From the airport, they would call me and say, "Prof, where are you? I want to see you." I said, "Sure." So in this university, Prof Kamal, he came up with the term called Islamicization. Okay, meaning more or less the same thing, recasting knowledge, but they think that this gives you. So integration is another terminology used. Integrate reason with revelation. Okay, which is what Islamization is about, which is what relevantization is about. Okay, the distinction between Islamization and relevantization is very clear. Islamization, we start with the Western terminologies, etc. In relevantization, we start with Quran and Sunnah and our own Turas. And then in the case of the West, we see if it is Islamic. In the case of Islam, we see whether it explains the world. Okay, and I'm very much fascinated with this Jama'ah, Salat bil Jama'ah, 5 times a day. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's a training workshop. Salat bil Jama'ah is a training for living in this society. How to live in this society, it is taught by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and He wants you to learn it, and therefore it made it 5 times a day. Allahu Akbar. And also Salat bil Jama'ah teaches you what? Time. Time. Everything has to be done on time. So the concept of time, the importance of time is also taught by but we Muslims are very good in not going by time. We are very good. We never follow time. Time is not our thing. Alhamdulillah, I'm very happy that we started on time. Okay. Otherwise, we will not be able to apply Surah Asr. So, in short, you can use Islamization of knowledge, you can use integration, And if you use relevantization, then it's different meaning. Islamization has different meaning. Integration is more or less the same. It could be both ways, but it's especially to Islamization. There is also a term called harmonization, and which is used in the legal profession, that they want to harmonize the law with Islamic law and see if they work together. I hope I have answered your question.
No.
All right, thank you very much, Prof.
Thank you for this.
We have 5 people that have raised their hands. They want to maybe ask questions or comments. We'll start with the first one, Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali, are you hearing me? Muhammad Ali, Muhammad Ali, are you with us? Then Tele Hoops. Professor Yakub Tahir, please.
Yes,
Professor
yes, I'm
Tahir,
available.
Please.
Yes.
All right. Can you
hear me?
ask your questions? Okay.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Brother Yaqub, we are of the same age. You are not supposed to ask questions. You are supposed to answer them.
No, not really. I'm far behind you. Actually, I'm delighted to be part of. I'm delighted to be part of this meeting, and I actually have to say that I was a student when we were there in Bayreuth University around 1981 to 1986. I did my, and I have had opportunity to listen to your lectures, especially in the Islamic political class. Yes, so I'm quite, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continue to provide you with good health, and may Allah bless you and your progenies. So I have a question. You said that Islamization is the liberation of man from magic and secular worldview. Whereas earlier on you said there is no conflict between Islam and secularism. Isn't there kind of contradiction there? Okay.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you.
This is what you learned in my class, isn't it? How to raise questions. What I said is that we can accept the word secularism, but we give it a different meaning. We can keep the word secular. Secularism means separating church and state, separating mosque and state. But we cannot accept that meaning. But if you say Islam does not discriminate against anybody. Okay, in Islamic state, in Islamic society, there will be church, there will be mosques, there will be the Hindu castles, and all things will be there, and Islam will take care of all of them. And in that sense, we are not making any distinction in terms of religion or race or culture. If you mean by secular, that is what secularism is, then we will accept it. Otherwise, no. If you stick to the Western meaning of secularism, meaning separation between religion and state, then it is not acceptable. But if we want to accept it, we will accept it, but we will give it a different name. So I will accept Yaqub. Okay? Yes. I will accept Yaqub. I will not say that he is a prophet.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. Can we now listen to Aisha Abdul Ismail? Aisha Abdul Ismail, are you with us?